Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm here with Brother T this week. It's our second anniversary season. We've been doing this for a year. I'm your host, Jason Keaton. Brother T, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, my friend. Really excited to be back. This is episode 2, season 2, episode 2. So things are happening.
Right.
A lot of activity. We're getting more communication back from our community, which is always fun. And we're also just seeing, more views, and more people are starting to pick up on our content. And hopefully, as we continue, Jason, maybe we'll be able to help more people find the light that lives within them, and to begin to express love in the world in a way that the world is ready for. So it's exciting for me to be a part of the Second Coming, No One Left to Crucify, and here with True Thought, spiritual community, and it's nice to be back.
I love being here with you, Brother T. And for everyone out here, like, share, subscribe. Share it with just one friend. Share it with one friend today. See what they think of it. You can also, truethought.org, support with Brother T. It's beautiful being here with you today. We get a question today from a longtime viewer, one of our original, Colleen. And her question kind of comes... I kind of understand what she's talking about, but she's maybe, I don't know if struggling is the word, but what she's saying is she's having a hard time with this judgment. And if she's observing something, is that judgment? And is that judgment of a person, or is that a self-judgment? And I'll kind of wrap it up because I had a conversation with her on the phone about it, trying to understand what her question really was. And she gave me the example. Well, she sees somebody that looks different than her, somebody that is not like her, and she notices it, and she isn't necessarily trying to judge, but she does notice and recognize that she is having a thought about this person, not necessarily positive or negative, but she was wondering where spirit compartmentalizes, like, what's the difference between an observation or a judgment, and how we're supposed to go forward in this loving world. And if a random thought comes in, is that something that we are supposed to feel or supposed to correct? Or, I mean, like she was saying, she can't help that she noticed it. It wasn't positive or negative. She just noticed it, and she was having an issue with, like, maybe even feeling she was wishing she was more enlightened, I guess. If you could kind of take it from there. It's pretty broad-based, but that was her question.
Okay. Well, let's take a moment here to call in some counsel and guidance and attune ourselves to the upper room. Let's take a good deep breath. With gratitude, we say thank you, thank you, thank you, Mother, Father, God. We know there's no gender in God, but we are speaking out in this way so that no one here feels left out. All are included in the house of God. What a blessing it is for us to be here at True Thought Spiritual Community, where we are in attunement to a higher consciousness and on a journey of self-realization. It comes in stages, and wherever we may find ourselves is perfect. Neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. It is only our wayward thoughts that create blockages to the connection with our true self in the upper room. And once connected to that true self, we allow, we accept, and we love. As Christ in perfect safety, we release all tension. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free. I am free. I am free. I am in the upper room. I am here. I have come, I am known. Behold, I make all things new. It will be so. God is, God is, God is. It is, it is, it is. So now as we take another good deep breath, we return to this space and this place in this idea of time and in time outside of time. Thank you, Father. Thank you. Well, we've talked about it many times, and I first want to say thank you, Colleen, for asking the question. It's a wonderful question. And, you know, we all struggle, especially as soon as we realize that, you know, maybe our judgmental mind isn't all of us, isn't all that we are, if you will, that there is more than just that judgmental mind to us. And it is in that, you know, questioning, it is in that curiosity, it is in that wondering, and that beginning to search the mind that, you know, the change begins to happen, and it is well underway here on our planet. The vibration of the planet's changing, people's consciousness is changing. Most are not aware of it, but those that are aware of it are accelerating their ascension, you know, and the rapidity of these changes is quite remarkable for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. So if I understand your question, you're simply asking, you know, I find myself being judgmental. Is that appropriate? How can I not be judgmental? And how do I know if I'm being judgmental or I'm just being, I'll use the word discerning. If we're just being discerning, we're looking at everything in the present moment, right? But the ego, literally, the default operating system, will make a judgment on everything from history in about 1/10,000th of a second. Even before we realize we're judging, we're already judging, because that's what the default operating system does. So where we are in that moment is the choice that we really can make, right? We can say, let me take a good deep breath. I notice someone. And we can join in that moment with the voice of truth, that is your true self, the Holy Spirit, nothing more than your right mind, and ask a question. I always start out, and I know you've heard me say this before, Colleen, are you there? I'll put the brakes on. I do that by tapping the brake. I say, oh, I'm taking a good deep breath, right? And then I ask, are you there? And I just met somebody. I was sitting at the pool the other day. In our neighborhood, there's a pool there, and I was sitting there, and there were some young men talking. I say young. They were younger than me. And I had just met one person, and the other person, I just had met him some maybe just an hour or so prior to that, and we'd kind of gotten into talking about spirituality. And I found out he had literally started a church for a period of time in Nashville. And so we were really kind of getting into that a little bit. And then this other person showed up, and I'll just call him Josh for example. And I said, Josh, it's nice to meet you. You know, I said, I've just met you for the very first time. And so I don't have any judgment right now because I don't know anything about you. So I can see your perfect innocence right where you are right now. For about 15 more minutes at least, maybe. Right? But the ego is already starting to judge people based on how they dress, what color their hair is, what style of hair do they have, are they male or female, you know, what kind of shoes are they wearing. I mean, the ego is really busy discerning, or if you will, judging, are actually trying to determine what it's being exposed to, what is coming in before it based on history. That's what it does. It's always working to I'm going to say, give meaning to the present moment from our history, our collective history, our cultural history, our economic history, our religious history, our history. your history and your own life experiences, as well as the collective experiences. And in that very short matter of moments, instants, literally seconds, it says, okay, this is who this person is, because we want to see something for the very first time. And if it's a new person showing up in our life, we want to see them, and evaluate them to feel safe. Is this someone that I should be afraid of? Literally. That's the default. That is the default process, because the ego is always trying to control the environment and determine if the environment is hazardous, and then protect the self, if need be, by taking some action, right? Whether it's getting away or either drawing closer to learn more, just to be sure. Relationships, new relationships are difficult, absolutely. And beginning relationships, if you will, are difficult, and ending relationships are even more difficult. All this to say, the choice that we really have is to not try to control what the ego is doing. It's like trying to get your dog, to be not a dog, or your cat to be not a cat, or a bear to be not a bear. If you run into a bear, they could be dangerous, so you need to take precaution, right? Or if you run into a dog you don't know, that might be dangerous. You need to take precaution. So the ego is just making decisions about whether or not to protect itself. That's normal. That's natural. That's what its job is. From its very first thought we've had as an infant, we began to assess the world. Are we safe, right? Or are we in danger? So we can't condemn it, and we don't need to deny it. We allow it. But we can also say there is an aspect of me that is a knowing self. And that self makes no decisions in fear. In fact, fear is not part of its self. It doesn't know fear, and it denies fear. It gives fear no quarter. And that aspect of us is our true self. And that aspect of us is the self that we can literally connect with anytime, every time, in all times where we feel we need guidance, we feel uncertain, we feel we aren't sure of where we are, or the environment we're in, or who we're with. And so, again, tap the brake, right? In other words, slow down the thinking mind by simply taking a good deep breath. And as we do that, we become present to this moment. And now we're saying, I'm going to step back from listening to the egoic mind. I'm going to start being aware of it and observe it, but I'm not going to be hypnotized by it, and because it really wants us to believe that it is us, and it's not us. It is not who you are. So we take that deep breath, and we ask, by connecting, we start the conversation. It could be as simple as saying, how can I be loving in this, meeting this new person here? How can I be loving with someone that I've known for all my life, and suddenly they're just irritating me because they're acting in a way that I'm finding resistance to that? How can I be the expression of my love, of your love, of my true self in this moment? And then just take a pause for just a brief moment and feel your energy shift. Because when your energy shifts, you are connected, and you truly have now stepped into a higher level of vibration, a higher level of consciousness. And so now that voice of love, that inner guidance, comes from the heart. And so the mind and the heart become joined. That's called wholeheartedness. And in that state of consciousness, fear does not reside. Fear does not make choices. Fear might be chattering in the background, but you are looking at this person and seeing their innocence. And when you do that, you have changed them, and you have changed the world. We are in the process of changing the world around us all day, every day, or adding to the way it is by, I'm going to say, reclaiming history and saying, oh, this is supposed to be this way, and this is supposed to be that way. Or we can let history go, and we can tell that thinking, judging mind, get behind me. I'm just going to be at peace right now. I'm going to stay here, And I'm going to realize that what I'm actually seeing is God in everything and everywhere, even in my brothers and sisters, no matter how they present, no matter how they express. God lives there, and their innocence is recognizable by simply stepping back from the activity of judgment and taking a good deep breath, joining with your higher self, and allowing love to affect you, to give you a new way of being and expressing in this world of form.
I love that, Brother T. A follow-up question, and you mentioned, being at this state of vibration, and it reminds me. I used to live in Miami Beach, and there was a character in my reality, and it would seem, and he was boisterous and loud, and not pleasant to be around, and it would seem like when we were at a low vibration, he would just appear. Sometimes it just seemed like he'd just appear out of nowhere. Do we have the ability to control that, even in a subconscious way or spiritual way? Do we hold a certain vibration and then certain people or things kind of flow in and out of our reality? Or is that just coincidence? And it's just maybe it just happened that we were like, going negative and stuff like that. And all of a sudden Joey appears, Is there anything to that?
Good question. In truth, everything in your experience, everything, not some things, everything in your experience is in resonance with you, or you could say you're in resonance with it. You're in vibrational resonance, or you are in accord with, A-C-C-O-R-D. Or you could say it vibrationally as sound, A-C-H-O-R-D, a chord on the piano, if you will. You are in resonance with that. You've seen people using crystal bowls or, even glasses with water in them, or someone singing an opera can hit a note, and a wine glass, a crystal glass, will shatter because it becomes in resonance with that tone, that vibration. Thoughts are things, Jason. Thoughts are things, and they have a vibration. And so whatever we're experiencing is always being pulled to us, or we're a magnetic field of resonance that's pulling things to us that are in accord, that are in vibration, that are in resonance with our thoughts, right? And our thoughts are either low or high, and we get to decide the field that we play in, the sandbox that we build our castle in. And so, yes, those things are coming to us for two reasons. One, because we're in resonance with them. And secondly, very likely, because the soul, your soul, sees an opportunity for growth. And we can take advantage of it, or we can just amplify the energy if it's negative, as an example. So I'm going to share a very quick story. I was really trying to understand miracles. What is a miracle? And Jesus is telling us miracles happen all the time. I'm sharing the 50 principles of miracles, the 53 principles actually, in the Your Text version of A Course in Miracles right now with our Substack group. And so if you go to truthought.org and just put in your email, you'll get those emails every day. And I think right now we're somewhere around principle 10 as an example. And every day I put out a principle and then share a little language. So thank you for joining us there on Substack. That's where you'll get the emails. And you can also join our regular email list, by the way. I'm doing a little, going down a rabbit hole here. Just to go to truthought.us. Truthought.us. You can join our email list there. That's our inner circle email. And I send out one email a week, to that broader audience. Anyway, I was trying to figure out, what is a miracle? What is a miracle? How do I experience a miracle? So I was at a convention in, I think it was in Arkansas somewhere. I can't remember exactly where I was, but it was a meeting that I was going to, and it was a lot of people there. They're part of our organization. But anyway, I was looking for some dinner, and I was downtown, and I just went to a restaurant, just walking down the street. Okay, here's a restaurant, go in. And I'm sitting there. It's a nice little restaurant, lots of family people there, laughter and talking and everything. And they had a little bar there, and I grabbed a seat at the bar. There was a couple of seats. And, just enjoying the atmosphere and ordered some dinner. And suddenly this large man walks into the room and in the company of a lady. And he just is speaking, and he is a big guy. He looks dangerous. He's bigger than almost anybody in the room, so to speak. And he's speaking, his volume is so loud. He talks over the entire room, which is already a volume level really high because everybody's having a good time laughing and talking loud. And suddenly the room just literally starts to go silent. And there's a young lady behind the counter, and she walks up to him. She's a little intimidated because he pulls up and gets a seat, guess where? Right next to me. You can't make this up, right? And so he sat next to me, and then his woman sat, and there was two seats. That's where the two seats were. And so he's like, hey, I want that. He starts like demanding. Everything he's saying is in a demanding, accusatory, dominating voice. And so he's doing this, and suddenly people start leaving. The room, literally, he almost cleared out the restaurant. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm paying him never mind. Not giving him any attention whatsoever. And that's what he's, and everybody else is giving him all their attention. And I'm just sitting there, and I keep eating. And he finally looks over at me, and he goes, well, you're kind of a different guy, aren't you? And I looked at him. He said, you don't seem to be bothered at all by me being here. I said, no, I'm glad you came to visit. and he had been shot in war. He had come back to this country as a veteran, and he felt victimized by his injury. He felt victimized by his government. He felt victimized by the American people. He felt victimized, and that his life was on the teeter. He was teetering on bankruptcy. He was teetering on being homeless. He was angry, and it was consuming him. We talked for over an hour, and by the time he left, we were friends, and quiet and conversation and laughter had returned to the room because he put down his armor, he put down his sword, and he realized somehow in our conversation he was making a choice, that he could be a different person. And I realized for the first time that he had a sudden shift of perception. And I knew a miracle for the first time as my own personal experience. That I had somehow given him over my mind. I had denied fear, and I had refused to be intimidated, and I just decided to be his friend. And before he ever said a word to me. And we had a wonderful time, and I made a new friend. A miracle is a sudden shift of perception. And it's easy for us to be fearful, and it's certainly normal for us to be fearful because that's the default operating system. But wherever we might be, circling back to your question, and it's a great question, yes, we're pulling these things to us, but we're also, as we're graduating in our journey of ascension, given multiple opportunities, I realize now every day, to see God where God really is, which is everywhere. And to not operate in fear, but to choose love. And that is alchemy, shifting from a consciousness of fear to a consciousness of love. That's called a miracle. And so it is.
That is beautiful. That is heartwarming, heart-touching, and I love that. You just had to allow Spirit to flow through you. And, you know, who knows? Maybe changed his life. Certainly
Oh,
changed
no.
your life.
There's no, Jason, miracles are real, and they change your life. His life changed. And I, driving home, and I drove there, I was crying almost all the way home because I realized how I was blessed. My life was changed.
Right.
How could his life not be changed if my life was changed? Giving and receiving are one. No question
Right.
in my heart or my mind or my knowing. His life was changed, and my life was changed.
I love that. That is incredibly beautiful. And I hope everyone here that's sharing this experience with us is feeling some love and maybe reflecting on the next time that they have a judgment or they encounter something, and if they can just pause and put fear aside and look for a way to show love. Brother T, once again, you've warmed our heart. You've taken care of us. It's such a pleasure to be with you here every week, Brother T. It does my soul good being here with you. And everyone that's joining us, one person this week, just share this video with one person. And if you want, support.True Thought. We love to have your support. But just share with one person is all we're asking. Share Brother T's love and compassion with our community. Share your love with our community. And for me, write in. I need more questions. I need more questions for Brother T so we can have these great stories and great communication with Spirit. So, Brother T, thank you for a beautiful story this week. Thank you for your enlightenment. From my love to you, from all of us, thank you.
My honor and my pleasure. I'm the one who feels blessed in every conversation I have with you, Jason. I love you, bro.
Love you too. And for everyone else, we got more next week on another episode of The Second Coming.